What up, everybody? Raising Kanan Season 4, Episode 10 starts off with Kanan finding out the news from Jukebox that Crystal was dead. At this point, Kanan lost it and started tearing apart things in his apartment, ultimately breaking down in Jukebox's arms. But it wasn't just Crystal that had Kanan at a boiling point, it was the whole snowball effect of events that took place from the beginning of the series until now, with everybody close to him dying. D-Wiz, Famous, Howard, and now Crystal. Getting me to clue number 1. During this conversation, Jukebox told Kanan that she wasn't sure if they could believe Snaps and Pop because they always have an angle. So when Kanan finds out the truth about who was really behind the deaths of Famous and Crystal, figuring out that Snaps and Pop had an angle will likely play a key part in that. Episode 9 ended with Rock and Luz showing up at the tailor shop to confront Unique. And in episode 10, when Rock said something to Unique about him talking to Kanan, Unique warned her at the very beginning of the episode that Kanan was now her enemy. Then it showed Marvin going to talk to Stefano about early Tyler taking out the maid man in Howard Beach, trying to smooth things over. But Stefano felt like what was done and ended all business with Rock and Marvin, including the ships that brought in the product and the trucks that moved the product around the city. Stefano agreed to start doing this for Rock last episode after Unique had E-Tone take out David. After finding out about Crystal, Kanan was next seen visiting his grandmother Joyce's gravesite, needing somebody to vent to about everything he had going on and what he was thinking his mother was responsible for, and let Joyce know he was going to do something she would have to forgive him for. Getting me to clue number 2. Joyce's tombstone read November 1992. This lets us know that it hasn't even got to 1993 yet, like we thought with Famous's card saying he died October 92. The 3 months he had been missing wasn't taken into consideration, adding the 3 months would have took us back to around July of 1992. Then Kanan went to circle back around to see if Crystal's mother's boyfriend had heard anything. Keeping in mind, he'll have additional information from the police, whatever they're telling Crystal's mother, he'll know. Getting me to clue number 3, and that's Kanan telling him that if he hears anything, to hit him up. Again, going back to clue number 1 and Kanan finding out that Snaps and Pop had an angle. I also think that Crystal's mother's boyfriend will come back into play when it comes to Kanan getting information about who was really behind putting down Crystal. Then Rock went to talk to Erwin, the owner of the Chinese restaurants, and received even more bad news. In addition to Stefano telling Marvin that he's no longer going to be working with them, Erwin put them out the Chinese restaurants and said he didn't care if Rock killed him for that. He already sent his family back home to China to be safe. Then Erwin told Rock a story comparing her to an ancient Chinese monster called One Dun that caused chaos and evil, and that it corrupted and polluted all that it touched. It went on to say that the scariest thing about One Dun is that it can't see itself. It doesn't know that it's a monster. Erwin tells this to Rock after she had been lying to his face and threatening him for months. Then she had just finished threatening his family, and even after this, Rock still had Lou snatch up Unique's family, Panessa and Jerome, without Unique doing anything to Kanan. We also saw Rock and Marvin get into an argument this episode, with Marvin calling Rock out and saying that she's not perfect. This is after Rock said Marvin was a day late and $1 short taking out early Tyler. Keep it in mind, she told him to kill early Tyler when he killed early Tyler's cousin Lundell. Because if he would have did that, they wouldn't have had any problems with Stefano. And that conversation between Marvin and Rock ended with Marvin walking out and Rock still yelling at him even after he left. Getting me to clue number 4. Detective Garcia found Jukebox leaving the pizza place she always goes to and let Jukebox know that one of the tenants who live at the apartments in Edgemere, where Crystal was killed, saw a black lady leaving the apartment where they thought Crystal was killed at. When this got back to Kanan, he felt like it gave him confirmation that it was Rock who killed Crystal. But I also think this tenant who saw Pop will come back into play into the storyline moving forward, and will likely be who clears Rock of the responsibility of putting Crystal down, but will reveal to Kanan that it was actually Pop instead. Then Kanan went to see Snaps and Pop to find out if they had heard anything about Crystal, and after they told him they hadn't, they let Kanan know they wanted a bigger piece of the pie, and that they were real hungry. And Kanan even said back to them, and Rock ain't cunned it. Going back to clue number 1, and that should have let Kanan know that Snaps and Pop were already working an angle. Getting me to Kanan, meeting Snaps and Pop's nephew, Bradford Frady, aka Breeze. And clue number 5, that Breeze just relocated to South Jamaica after a successful stint hustling out in East New York. And I know y'all probably think I'm mad that Unique isn't Breeze, but it's actually the opposite. I'm actually glad that he's not. With Unique being my favorite power character, now I can have hope that he actually survives the series instead of waiting for Ghost to take him out. And not to mention, now I get to come up with a whole new set of theories for Unique's character moving forward, which I'm also glad about. And with that said, now I'm looking forward to seeing Ghost taking out Breeze. So you're looking at the two goofies, Kanan and Breeze, who taught Ghost and Tommy the game. Getting me to clue number 6. Breeze is waiting to be introduced to Unique next. Snap said at this point in time they needed Unique, at least for now, for his Italian connect. This was after Snap said earlier in the episode that they had their own connect. So again, this could be a factor in letting Kanan know that Snaps and Pop are lying to him once he calms down and starts thinking about things and gets out of his emotions. Then we have Unique going to visit Teresa Bocelli to light a fire under her about getting Russo to go to war with Stefano and rocking them over taking out Sal. Getting me to clue number 7. During this conversation, Unique told Teresa that Jerome was 8 years old. That would have made Jerome about 30 years old at the beginning of OG Power and 40 on the current timeline if he's still alive somewhere in the Power universe. But during this conversation, Teresa revealed that Russo always wanted to take Sal's spot. Getting me to clue number 8, and that's when Russo met up with Stefano to have a private conversation. It was revealed that Russo asked Stefano to help him take out Sal so he could become the boss. And at the end of this conversation, Russo stabbed Stefano in an attempt to take him out. But when Unique went to see Russo, Russo said there's a possibility that his attempt against Stefano failed and Stefano could still be alive. And because Stefano's death is up in the air, Russo gave Unique the green light to go to war. So at the end of the episode, Unique's crew burnt down the Golden Pavilion and also Stefano's fish shop. Then there was Jukebox meeting with Rock at Lamont's diner, and Jukebox going off on Rock, with Rock asking Juke what most of us were thinking, where's all this coming from? And at this point, Rock compared Juke to Marvin, saying she's jumping into shit without looking, and saying that he was sloppy. Getting me to clue number 9. During this conversation, Rock said that Famous lived with them for almost a year when his mom and sister had to go to the shelter. Keeping in mind that the episode that revealed Famous to be dead showed Famous and his family going to that shelter. And at the time we didn't know what the purpose of showing this was. Now we know that soon after this, Famous went to live with Rock and Kanan. And it also explains why Famous and Kanan were so close like brothers. Then Jukebox and Aisha went to talk to Nakia, the old Butter Group manager, about Crystal's death. and Nakia said that Jukebox seemed different. And Jukebox's reply was that she was different before, but now she's the same again. Then when Jukebox was talking to Aisha, she told her that New York is where she's supposed to be because that's where her dad is, and that she can't leave him because she has to stay to look out for him. Knowing that Jukebox ends up in DC, what does this tell us about Marvin's fate? The next morning, when Marvin and Jukebox was talking, Marvin let Jukebox know that Rock had nothing to do with killing either Famous or Crystal. And if she did, he would have known about it. Marvin was also watching Amber this episode, getting put with a new and what appears to be a better foster family. And Garcia stopped Kanan and talked to him about Crystal, but we don't know what was said. But the next thing we know, Kanan and Jukebox were back at that apartment. And whatever Garcia told Kanan had him heated. And what Marvin told Jukebox now had her doubting Rock's involvement and trying to convince Kanan of that also. But Kanan grabbed his gun and pointed it at Jukebox, letting her know that if she's not with him, she's against him, before storming out to confront Rock. This is the same thing Kane Tejada told Drew in Season 1 of Power Book 2. Getting me to clue number 10. When Kanan left, Jukebox made a phone call. The question is, who was this phone call to? Because Marvin was getting shot up by Unique's crew at this point in time, and Lou was busy snatching up Vanessa and Jerome. Possibly she called Detective Garcia, or maybe a ride or a taxi or something like that, keeping in mind that she doesn't have transportation of her own and normally takes the bus wherever she goes. So because of that, it would be hard for her to get to Rock's house close to the same time that Kanan did. Getting me to the end with Kanan potentially taking out his mother, Rock. I made a video yesterday discussing the ending. I'll put a link in the description if you haven't watched that video yet. But we know there was a gunshot, potentially Kanan taking out Rock. But could it have been Jukebox shooting the gun out of Kanan's hand? I don't think this was Jukebox giving Kanan his scar, because there was a gunshot and that scar is obviously a cut. And I think we would have heard her say something to Kanan before cutting him. Also keeping in mind that Jukebox has perfect aim from her time in the military, so she possibly shot the gun out of Kanan's hand. Other than that, I'm not sure what could have stopped Kanan and what the gunshot could have been other than killing Rock. Because like I said, I don't think Marvin or Lou were in the area at the time. There's a possibility that was Unique or somebody from his crew, but I don't think they would be able to get past her security right now. Kanan obviously got in because of who he is. So there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.